This week, lots of enterprise security news from Threat Quotient announces a new partnership. SyferLock announces a technology alliance. Bromium completes its secure platform for endpoints. RiskSense supports MSSPs. Cloud Passage announces an interesting integration. SyferLock announces some stuff for Microsoft System Security Center, SCCM. And RiskIQ deepens digital threat mitigation capabilities. Our interview for this week is Jane Grohl and Alan Schimmel to talk about DevOps. All that and more on this edition of Enterprise Security Weekly. This is a Security Weekly production.
This episode of Enterprise Security Weekly is brought to you by IT Pro TV, an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. Access over 2,000 hours of up-to-date, high-quality video content live and on demand via Chromecast, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, PC, or your mobile device. IT Pro TV's premium membership grants access to all courses, transcripts, virtual machine labs, and transcender practice exams. Corporate and group pricing are available. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the life of your account, visit itpro.tv/enterprise security and use the code ES30. Are you worried about PCI compliance? Does your development team understand or care about security? Are you ready to face a breach of your customers' sensitive data? See the worst that can happen before it does. Black Hills Information Security can help you help management see the future. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com to find out how a web application penetration test can mitigate the risk before you go live. Tenable Network Security, creators of Nessus, the world's best vulnerability scanner. Jumpstart your security program today and evaluate Security Center CV, the continuous security monitoring solution. For more information, visit them on the web at tenable.com. Pony Express, check out their line of penetration testing devices, including the Pwn Pad, the Pwn Phone, and the Pwn Pro. For enterprises, there's Pwn Pulse, providing continuous visibility into wired, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth spectrums across all physical locations, including remote sites and branch offices. For all those hard-to-reach places, there's Pony Express. Visit them on the web at ponyexpress.com.
Hey, there I am. Welcome, everyone, to Enterprise Security Weekly. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, on the lines via Skype. From Rapid City, Mr. John Strand. Welcome, John.
See, I was worried there for a second that I was going to have to run the show by myself, and I'd basically be just saying, it sucks, it's crap, don't buy it, for like half an hour. Right. So I'm glad you're here to help keep things straight.
I am. I'm here with some pretty awesome announcements, too. First up, we got IT Pro. They've got updated course material in Cybersecurity Analyst Plus, CCNA, Cyber Ops, and ITIL Operations Support. All memberships are being upgraded as of February 1st. Go to itpro.tv/hacknaked. Use, /enterprise security and use the code ES30 to save 30% off for life. Get out and vote for your favorite security blogs and podcasts. Security Weekly has been nominated for the 2017 RSA Social Security Awards Best Security Podcast. Whew. It's a mouthful. Cast your vote today by visiting securityweekly.com/vote, which will take you to the Survey Monkey that you can go fill it out. And, well, I mean, vote for us, obviously, is what we're saying selfishly. Not so selfishly, I have some upcoming conferences that you, the listener, should be attending because they're awesome, and we have awesome discount codes and discount percentages and discount amounts for both conferences. I will be presenting at both conferences. one of 3 different kinds of talks. So the first one is InfoSec World, April 3rd through the 5th in Orlando, Florida. Tons of great talks, not just mine, but tons of great talks. Security Weekly listeners get 10% off by using the code OS17-SW. You can find out more at infosecworld.misty.com. That's MISTI.com. Also,
And what was that discount code again?
It was OS17-SW.
OS17-W. Got it.
SW, yes. Source Boston will be held April 24th through the 27th in Boston, Massachusetts, for training and awesome talks. Use the code SecurityWeekly, get $100 off either a conference ticket or one of the awesome trainings. You can find out more at sourceconference.com. Also, there is a charity event I want to make everyone aware of. Attend the Shaves That Saves. That's really hard to say, apparently, today. Shaves That Save at RSA Wednesday, February 15th, 6 to 8 p.m. Watch security industry folks shave their heads for charity. I am kind of like disqualified because I already shaved my head. I guess I could just go there and get a haircut with that anyway. If it made people donate, you should donate because all the proceeds benefit St. Baldrick's Foundation, an organization supporting life-saving children's cancer research. You can find out more by visiting the link in our wiki at wiki.securityweekly.com or just doing some careful Google searching for that. Or if you're at RSA, just show up where it is on February 15th. It's in somewhere in Marconi. Well, anyway, if you really want to attend, just contact us. We'll tell you how to get there. So those are the announcements, John. On to the enterprise security news for this week. Threat Quotient has an announcement, a partnership with Soprasteria. I just love this name, John.
Never heard of Soprasteria.
Soprasteria? I think it's Soprasteria. Soprasteria.
It sounds like a girl that would have turned me down when I asked for a date years ago.
Probably. She's like Italian or something, right? Both the first name and the last name ended in vowel. Yeah. That just automatically disqualifies you, John. I don't know why, but it just does. So Threat Quotient, let's see, someone from Threat Quotient says, and I want you to hear this, John, because I want to hear the hysteria that will ensue afterwards. A threat intelligence platform helps C-level executives to integrate security operations feedback into their risk analysis and strategic planning activities. He goes on to say companies need more and more intelligence-driven services like threat intelligence platforms. He strongly believes that classical managed SOC offers will disappear in the near future and be replaced by intelligence-driven SOC offerings focused on threat, defense, and fighting adversaries.
Wow, we can stop reading the rest of this article right there. All right. All right. So the threat intelligence platform, I believe that more information is better than less information. I think the big thing with this particular merger, that's basically these two companies working with each other as far as a partnership, is important because we have actually seen where European companies get attacked in different ways by different threat actors than the United States companies. And you have companies that are global in nature. So I think that that's good for these companies and basically trying to kind of combine the threat information, the threat intel that they're actually seeing. Now, I still think that the vast majority of threat intelligence feeds are complete crap, and it really doesn't talk too much as far as orchestrating that information into your day-to-day DevOps, your security operations. But the idea that this concept of threat intelligence is going to replace the SOC is absolutely and utterly insane. This would be one of those things I would absolutely love. What's the guy's name? Anthony, I think was his name.
Yeah, I mean, and I've spoken to Threat Quotient in the past, and I think that this particular quote is doing them somewhat of a disservice, John. They fully understand. I've spoken with them, right? They understand the limitations of just threat intelligence feeds, and their product, very similar to our sponsor, Threat Connect, right, is looking to branch out and allow organizations to use threat intelligence data more effectively. I think that's what this article should have highlighted better. Focused on that. Because Threat Quotient is, I think Marty Resch is on their board of directors. So, I mean, they're doing some smart stuff at Threat Quotient. And, of course, Threat Connect is doing awesome things as well. I think both these companies kind of fit into that mindset of stepping outside of the bounds of just, we're just going to give you threat intelligence feeds. And we've seen some awesome examples from Threat Connect of that as well. So.
And I think that quotes like that, whenever you're like, our product is so awesome, it's going to replace everything in your security operations center, there's no one that listens to that. So it's just, a lot of times we rip on the marketing noise. So I think if we're looking at this, if we're scoring it, I think the partnership between these two companies is good for both of them, without question, because now they can start trying to compete on more of a global scale, number one. Number two, the marketing propaganda. Clearly the person that puts this together needed a quote. Anthony threw together a crappy quote that had nothing to do with the actual partnership, and it kind of does the entire thing in service.
Agreed. So we're not knocking Threat Quotient by any stretch. We're absolutely saying to take a look at them.
We're just knocking what one guy said.
Right. We have an unfair advantage with that as we read some of these articles, right?
Yeah.
So this one is really interesting, John. So SyferLock, that's SYFER, SyferLock, announces a technology alliance with OpenIAM, right? That's the open source identity access management solution. And SyferLock makes essentially, it's a token without being a token, right? It's a one-time password / PIN generation that happens in software. They claim to do it in a way that will protect against the bad guy snooping in on it. So it's, according to them, impervious to something like a keystroke logger, right? So you have to click. There's ways around that too, but they claim to have protections to generate these one-time paths without having to issue a hardware token is the advantage. And they've announced integration with an open source IAM. I think this is a good thing. John, I don't know how much experience you have with software-based OTP solutions.
Absolutely. And whenever we're looking at software-based solutions, it's really kind of becoming the norm. You used to have tokens like the RSA tokens, and you still have them quite regularly. But now you have soft tokens that you can run on your phone, you can run on your computer, you can run anywhere. We're seeing those more and more and more with customers that we actually work with. And I want to make it very clear that if you're looking at your security architecture, you're trying to figure out how you can actually take a step up. We have two things. We're going to talk about Bromium today, but also this. Doing two-factor authentication, something that ties in with an open source identity and access management model is really, really cool. Two-factor authentication stops a lot of attacks, not all attacks, but it stops a very good number of attacks, and it really takes that human stupidity a little bit out of the equation. You can never completely remove human stupidity, but you can take that human stupidity of somebody coming up with a password of winter 2017, and it helps mitigate that overall risk. So if you're trying to balance out what it is you're going to do, this is one of those steps forward that would be a massive improvement to the overall security of your organization. And the fact that it's open with OpenIAM is great. And I think it's just a good approach. What I think is interesting, Paul, and I want to get your opinion on this, is how the hell do you get market differentiation in this space? If you look at companies that are out there, you got Google Authenticator, which is free, and you got other solutions, of course, all over the place, and SyferLock is one of them. How do you actually differentiate in this marketplace? It seems like it's gotten almost to the point of being a commodity, and you've got to come up with weird tricks to be able to differentiate. Or do you think that there is still room for somebody to step up with like next generation two-factor authentication tokens?
Yeah, I think the major thing is going to be the integrations and technology alliances. Like, that's why they're making a big deal about this, right? They're trying to gain market share and gain some differentiation against maybe other solutions that don't have an integration into OpenIAM, right? So that's the first thing. I don't think the overall security level of software-based OTPs is really playing a major factor. I don't think it's really how you differentiate yourself. I think it's more about integrations and user experience, right? Like, does it balance good enough security with a good user experience to provide that extra level of security at a low cost? And I think they're trying to carve out the market where companies don't issue a hardware token because it's just too expensive and too much maintenance.
And you also run into a problem of what happened with RSA. Whenever RSA was hacked years ago, all those hardware-based tokens, I don't want to say they were rendered ineffective, but they were now very, very, very suspect. If you have a software-based token, it actually makes it easier for your company, if you're an identity and access management company, to actually push out a patch or push out new seed files without having to have everybody ship their tokens in or ship out new ones. Exactly. So it's just a good approach.
Agreed. Bromium, I think you're a fan of Bromium. Is that correct, John?
I love Bromium, and the reason why I like Bromium is two things. One, I really feel like it's an underdog. And the other reason is Simon, one of the founders of Bromium, is a geek, complete through and through, absolute geek. If you talk to him, he doesn't really talk much about business management, doesn't talk much about financials. He's always talking about the technology. And he isn't afraid to actually get into the math behind these different things. And that's awesome.
And they mentioned, it's funny you say that, John. They actually mentioned the mathematical equation that they were basing their stuff on. What is it called? You probably know what it is.
Oh, the Byzantine model?
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that makes sense.
Sorry. So I love that. I love the company for that. And also, they have a product that is basically unflinchingly into doing the right thing as far as making their customers secure with their Bromium instances for the applications that they're protecting.
So the way I understand it, it's a high-level micro VM. You run all your stuff in the micro VM, and the micro VM gives you security and separation from the rest of the system. And with this announcement, they were also touting security that comes along with that micro VM. In other words, if you're managing now all of the VMs, which was part of the announcement, that when one of them does something bad, it reports that and then correlates that and sees if any one of the other VMs did something bad. And since they're in such a controlled environment, you can really tune in on what's bad. I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
And the big problem with Bromium, and I personally don't think it's a problem because I'm a security person and Mordek is my favorite creature in Gilbert comics. But a lot of people that implement Bromium don't like it very much simply because of how restrictive it actually is.
Right.
Users can't run, various weird plugins. They can't, sometimes copying and pasting is difficult depending on the application that you're using. And at some point we got to step back and say, do we even care about that? Now, if you're looking at like teller machines in banks, or you're looking at cash register machines, or somebody that does something with a job that they work with one application and they just do it all day long, especially in highly secure environments, Bromium's the way to go.
I got you.
It is a fantastic platform, but it's also not as flexible in letting people do whatever the hell they want. But they made their choice. They said they wanted to be kind of the application whitelisting, lock down the system as much as possible, and don't flinch, and they do that. And if you get a chance, you got to sit down and talk to Simon. He's just a trip to watch talk.
Awesome. RiskSense is supporting managed security service providers. So they are the pioneer and market leader in proactive cyber risk management. They announced RiskSense 7.0. The major update in this one is a multi-client dashboard that enables MSSPs to deliver this to their clients, which is a business move being put in place by a lot of different software security vendors, and I think very smartly so. Why? We've talked about this model before, John. Why sell to every individual company when you can sell to one MSSP and have them resell it essentially for you? So I think this is a good move by RiskSense. I find it interesting that they're still kind of preying on the gap that is left by vulnerability management, which I largely I think should be closing, although I'm not as close to it as I once was. But that gap was really closing. I mean, the advantage with the MSSP model is they can look across now all of their customers and say, these are the top vulnerabilities, these are the top malware, these are the top exploits, and deliver that back to all of their customers in a sanitized form. I think that's really cool. I think other solutions, from other vendors could probably do the same thing. So I don't see a lot of differentiation with the RiskSense platform.
No, I wanted to kind of mention the same thing. Do you remember almost a year ago when we started doing this, how this was a thing? We saw this with a ton of vendors with MSSP and integrations. We saw it again and again and again, and then it just kind of died. And now it's kind of popped up. It really does feel like RiskSense is kind of chasing previous buzzwords and not really keeping up. And that may be a good thing, right? They may be focusing on the things that matter, not necessarily chasing the buzzword du jour. But no, the MSSP thing, if there's one group of people in security that need help, it's MSSPs, just simply because they suck so bad at what they do. So anything that gives them better visualization and better data from their customers is a good thing in my book. And I think it's a valid question. If you're getting an MSSP, to basically get a tour and say, I'd like to see your multi-client dashboard. I'd like to see how you're actually aggregating all this information across across all of your different customers and viewing it. I'm not saying that RiskSense is the answer, but I think that the problem that they address in this particular release is a real problem that needs to be addressed, whether it's with this product or something.
I think it's a bigger problem in the SMB and mid-market that are going to go to an MSSP. I think largely enterprises have started to figure this out, and I think they're either using the right combination of management tools, vulnerability management, SIM or in analytics to figure out this problem, or they're writing some of their own to solve this problem. But I think that the mid-market and the SMBs are still struggling with, like, how do I prioritize? How do I know, what needs attention and what doesn't when I get these scans back? And enabling the MSSPs to serve that market, I think, is a great play for the industry. Now, this one I kind of file like in my Nifty file. So Cloud Passage announces Slack integration. So essentially this means like you can manage all of your cloud instances and various things in a Slack channel and like get reports inside of a Slack channel.
I don't think that's what it means.
It is what it means. There's a blog post. That's what it means. I'm serious.
I think with the information, I don't think you can actually manage systems through Slack. I think you can get information and poll.
No, hold on. There's a blog post on Cloud Passage. I think you're right. I think
the bots connect in and they can notify people in the Slack channel.
Yeah, it is. It's not actually sending out configuration. That's actually what I was reading the post for because I thought that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, you basically get information and alerts, so you can query the database, list all your servers, and list the health of your servers. Yeah, it doesn't actually let you send stuff out like you're programming inside the Slack channel. I think that'd be awesome. Anyway,
I think it's
still
awesome
nifty.
because we're old. Remember whenever people first started talking about Slack, and you and I were like, "But we have IRC. Why do we need Slack?" But we use Slack quite a bit for non-customer related communication at BHIS, and it's been weird how quickly it's kind of like taken over BHIS, and it really does help with communication. That's just kind of where the team is. It's where they're talking. They're on different Slack channels, and it works really, really well. I still look at it, and I'm like, I like IRC from the command line just fine. And there's actually plugins that you can get IRC clients to connect into Slack
Yes,
channels.
we do that. We have an internal Slack channel. We do the IRC integration, and we do Giphy. Giphy is very important if you're using Slack. I haven't yet figured out any of the other integrations that can help you build your team and really been able to implement them. I think there are use cases, maybe in a DevOps. We explore that in our interview on this show, but there are other integrations that are kind of interesting, and I've yet to really figure them out and make them useful for the organization. But I know there are people that are, groups that are using it effectively. They're monitoring a Twitter feed or a Facebook feed or some support email, and that's coming into Slack, and it is letting them collaborate. This could be something that you might want to use for incident response as well. It definitely has the right architecture for that collaboration and being able to integrate different things into a central channel. I think it'd be really good to look at for incident response. I'd question the security of it in an incident response scenario. In other words, if the attackers have taken over your Slack channel, they can suppress messages and disrupt your response to their attack. So that's certainly something to consider. But again, it's nifty.
And we like Cloud Passage. I can vouch for them. They have a really good security model. But also, the Slack thing is interesting for two other reasons. It's like, number one, this is kind of replacing, Paul, the concept of a security operations center, right? Where you have a bunch of different screens up front and everyone's like watching all these screens. Now you have like these little Slack bots that come in and then they pop up little warnings to everybody. And that's cool, right? Because it becomes very easy to ignore the screen in the corner. And it also kind of reminds me, do you remember Snortbot? From years ago? Yeah, where you'd be playing, I can't remember, it was like Team Fortress, and every time you shot someone, basically it printed out an IDS alert at the bottom of the screen. So it's just kind of an interesting way of keeping people interested in alerts that are popping up in your environment. So I think it's cool, and the people at Cloud Passage are ninjas. We love them dearly.
SyferLock has announced some features that allow you to... of course, I'm getting an internal server error. Yeah, I'm getting that too. We should probably not talk about this because it's been pulled down. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, my whole question was, and maybe we answer this on a future show, was when SyferLock announces these features, what does it give you above and beyond what the built-in Microsoft tools can already do for you? That was my question. Yeah. And we won't know because... I actually did spend time and trying to find appropriate links for each of these stories, John, because sometimes we get a press release.
They go down.
Yeah, well, we get a press release and it doesn't say much, so you can do some Google search and you can find the actual announcement or a blog post, as was the case with Cloud Passage, because they're awesome. They have that, right? I did that, and of course now we still get errors.
They're probably like, oh my God, we're going to be on Enterprise Security Weekly. Pull down everything.
Pull it down.
Shut it down.
Another risk company, RiskIQ, has completed the acquisition of MacABIM. And I can't for the life of me figure out what that is.
See, I pronounced it Macabane, like the Simpsons guy, McBain. Macabane.
I think it's MacABIM. MacABIM. Is due to malvertising, spear phishing. I can't, because the MacABIM resources are all like redirect to RiskIQ, so I'm not quite sure what they do. There's a bunch of marketing stuff in here. I'm not sure what the acquisition actually gained them.
MacABIM sounds like the next evolution of twerking.
So MacABIM offered online project management system to facilitate threat data, legal case, and takedown processes. Interesting. Right. I can see that. I mean, RiskIQ, I believe, does a similar thing to RiskSense, right? So that was, when I worked at university, a big integration, right? Because security events, what was dubbed as security events, took different forms. So if there was a case that required an investigation from law enforcement, that was a security incident. If there was an investigation from another organization's legal department, right, that was a security incident. If it involved some kind of digital property, like the DCMA and all that kind of stuff in colleges and universities was big, probably still is. So those will all be classified as incidents. So it makes sense. You would see stuff on your dashboard. And a lot of times it's interesting, those kind of more like legal takedown notice kind of things could intersect with a security incident, right? The classic age-old example, it's like some of the first examples of hacking ever on the internet is someone would find an open FTP server and put a bunch of wares on it, right? Or put a bunch of copyrighted material on it. And then the copyright owner would be like, you guys are distributing this. And we're like, oh, it was really because something was hacked. And that of course, still happens today. So I think it's where you see that intersection. That's all I had, John.
Very cool.
And anything else?
No. I mean, we got kind of the usual things. The show's coming up tonight. Who do we have on the show? What are we covering tonight on Full Security Weekly?
That's a good question. I forgot. Yeah. Hold on.
But more importantly,
it was.
We have something coming up the 8th or the 9th. The 9th February. Yeah.
The 9th, we're going to bring a bunch of people here in the studio for the day to hang out, and then we're going to do a regular 2-hour show, and it's going to be our episode 500 of Security Weekly. And the esteemed panel will consist of a bunch of cast and characters, a lot of which you'll recognize. We're trying to get 12 people in studio to be on the show at the same time. We figured out that logistically, we might be able to mic up 12 people to be on the show at the same time. Yes, 12 people.
How? What? I know.
Good question. We're still figuring that out. We're hoping that we're going to be able to pull it off. On camera and on mic, 12 people.
There'll be liquor and air conditioning, so we're going to be okay.
And there will be...
And if I remember correctly, Paul, you have plenty of lube.
Plenty of lube. We'll fit people in. Yep, it won't be a problem. And I think one of the topics that Jeff actually suggested was we talk about the state of pen testing as one of the subjects. I'm basically just going to do 2 big 1-hour discussions. Because, I mean, it's going to take a half an hour to introduce everyone. So I don't know. It might just be one big long segment. And we might just get through pen testing and that's it.
The big thing that I would like to ask is, so far, do we think Jack's going to be there?
Yes.
Awesome. And I know Joff and myself are coming. So we're really
most of the Security Weekly crew will be there. I know Carlos was questionable at this time, as was Michael Santarcangelo, I think, is confirmed. So it might just be Carlos in terms of hosts. You may see a previous host that people request quite often come back on the show, Allison Nixon. Might be making an appearance. You'll just have to wait and see for that.
We need to hire her. We've been
Well,
trying
we'd
to
have
hire
to
Allison
we'd have to steal
for
her from
like 5 years now.
well, we have to steal her from Flashpoint. She's pretty happy there, so good luck with that.
Yeah, I know, that's hard. But we miss her.
We do.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching to this segment. Stay tuned. We got an interview coming up next.